availability. Initially, Luna will launch in early access on Fire TV, PC, Mac, and iOS devices, including iPhones and iPads. Notably, it won't be available on Android right away. The Android version should go live within weeks of early access launch, according to Luna head Mark Whitten. Let's see what other stuff Mark Whitten has done. Spiral Galaxy. All right, let's bring it back up. So he worked on Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Live. So he's a big Xbox guy. Okay, let's go back. Whitten and other Luna executives don't attribute the temporary iOS exclusivity to Amazon's mysterious sweetheart deal with Apple. So that takes care of the assumption that I made earlier. I was wrong, which allows Prime Video to sell media directly on the App Store without giving Apple 30% of its sales. The 30% cut is standard for essentially blah, blah, blah. Executives also don't attribute the iOS first launch to xCloud's provisional exclusivity on Android platforms. Microsoft game streaming platform xCloud is not available on iOS because of that fee. Jeez, man, what are they paid by the word here? With Luna, Amazon has discovered another way to circumvent Apple's App Store fees. It's a web application. So there you go. It is a web app, and that's perfectly acceptable, and I think that's what Google is going to end up doing. Just to be super transparent, on iOS, it's through the browser, so it's not a native app in the App Store. All right, so now they're talking about Epic, and I don't care about that. We worked with the Safari team to ensure some of the things that weren't there are there. That allowed us to kind of get to where we are today. We'll continue working with Apple. We'd love to do a native experience. They're evaluating their policies, and they keep talking about them. And when we can come up with a good experience there, we'll ship that one. Hold on, I just want to pop this out. I want to pop out chat so that I can see what you guys are saying at the same time. How is working with the Safari team shady? What's a bunch of rubbish? It's just a web app. It's just a web page. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, web apps were what Apple told people to do before they had the App Store. They haven't worked with the Safari team? They wouldn't say it if they didn't work with the Safari team. I'm sure that they talked to the Safari team and they said, hey, what can we do to make this stuff work? And it worked. Jim says, this isn't Microsoft products. What am I paying you guys for? All right, back to it. Pricing. All right, this is the part that I'm so confused about. Luna will cost $6, at least in early access. That price unlocks access to Luna. The baseline channel will feature a mix of games, including whatever. Not all of the titles listed there will be available on day one, but they're all on the early access docket. Luna will have more channels with curated content available at an additional yet unknown cost. The first confirmed channel comes from Ubisoft and will include broad selection of games from publisher's catalog, plus same-day releases of upcoming titles including Far Cry 6, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and Immortals Phoenix Rising. Okay. Amazon is aiming to have about 100 games available during the early beta period, spread between Luma Plus and the Ubisoft channel. Now, Right here, that part. This is where everybody says, "Oh, that's Ubisoft Plus, and 2 games from, you know, like that's what they're gonna do." Oh my God, Lloyd, you're right. Yeah, I have so many Twitch games. They kind of stopped on that, and now it's just DLC skins and stuff for other games. Luna will have more. Oh, I already read that. Ah, what in the heck is this? They kind of give them to you, Gem. All right. The channel approach to game streaming was borrowed from Amazon's Prime Video experience, which offers certain stations as paid editions. That said, Luna will evolve as early access carries on and the feedback rolls in. You may even see other types of channels, like a genre-based channel, said Mark Whitten, Amazon's head of Luna, or other ways to think about specific pieces of content that might be very attractive to a certain set of customers. Amazon specifies that $6 of the month is the price of a Luna Plus subscription during early release. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that it continues to be... I think that all of the things that they're saying are true, but I don't think that you have to subscribe to Luna Plus in order to subscribe to, say, the Ubisoft part. You know what I'm saying? They still haven't talked about the ability to just straight up buy a game. And I think that that is a mistake. I think that's a big mistake. Let's go back and keep looking. Twitch integration and tech specs. Prime Video isn't the only online media empire on Amazon, so it isn't the only source of inspirations for Luna's operations. Amazon also owns Twitch, the #1 streaming site. All right. If a streamer plays a Luna title, viewers will be able to click a link and play that game themselves as long as they're a Luna subscriber. So that's exactly what we currently have on Stadia. That's the click to play stuff. It's a link. Listen to me, Amazon and Google. Make it a button, not a link. All right? You're welcome. That one's free. These social features are similar to ones that Google proposed early for Stadia and YouTube, but most of its bold cloud gaming promises have yet to materialize. That's true. That's true, except this social feature right here that they're talking about, we have that right now. Let's see. Amazon, this was very smart of Amazon here, was to say, look, we're targeting 4K 60 frames per second, but in early access we're just going to do 1080 60. And then they said it's going to be on certain games, because when Google announced it, everybody assumed that that meant every single game was going to be 4K 60, and that's just not realistic. So, you know, this is a case where Amazon got to learn from Google's mistake by saying 4K 60 on that big screen behind them. They shot themselves in the foot. Going 4K 60 soon, whatever. From a customer perspective, they'll be able to select, obviously, the fidelity that they prefer for their in-home network, because that has different network requirements and bandwidth. Okay, that's good. Oh, okay, here we go. For 1080p gaming, Amazon recommends internet speeds of at least 10 megabits per second, and for 4K, it's 35 megabits per second. Are those the same as Stadia? I can't remember. Let me look this up. It's the same? Okay, thank you. I didn't want to have to look it up. Okay. That's good. All right, so this guy got to play it for 45 minutes on 3 devices, a Fire TV, Mac, and iOS, while 2 developers looked on via an Amazon Chime call. What the hell is Amazon Chime? Oh, it's probably one of the things they announced today. Started on Fire TV and was able to boot up the beefiest game in the store, Control, in a matter of seconds. It stuttered a bit through the opening scenes, but not enough to interrupt the cinematic flow. More often than not, gameplay was smooth, and none of the network interruptions that did appear were significant enough to break my experience. I feel like I could happily play the entire game on Fire TV. That's exactly what the Stadia experience is like, and everybody eviscerated them for it. On a Mac, one of Luna's standout features is ability to seamlessly transition a game session among screens, and this bit of cloud tech functioned perfectly. I simply stopped playing Control on Fire TV and opened a link of the game on Luna on my MacBook Pro. It loaded precisely where I left off. This is exactly the same. This is the exact same experience that you get on Stadia. It's just that they don't have the PWA. You don't need to repair a controller, which seems interesting. I mean, okay, so first off, I don't understand the reason why we have to pair a controller at all. If I open it up and it just, and I'm playing a game, and then I open it up on some other screen, I should be able to just continue. I don't understand why we need to pair the controllers at all if the controller, where is it? If the controller is simply connected directly to the Stadia servers. That always, it didn't bother me, but it always confused me. Let's see. The feature will be particularly handy considering Luma supports 2 simultaneous players per account. This is something that Google could easily replicate in order to if Google does the family sharing plan, then this is one of the things right now that Luma has over Stadia is this part here, right? That right there is important. Google needs to bring out family sharing. All of this was made easier by Amazon's Luma controller, which will launch in early access for $49.99. How much is a Stadia controller? That's like $70, isn't it? That's cheap for a controller. Yeah, this is okay. So they're saying this is exactly like the Stadia controller. All right, yeah, Stadia controller is $70. That would be huge, wouldn't it, Lloyd? Cloud Direct also means you don't have to pair the gamepad to each new device each time you want to swap screens. See, this is the thing that I don't understand why we have to do it with Stadia. Why do we have to pair the controller every time? Unless it's just, oh, I know why. It's so that we can control the UI of Stadia that's on the Chromecast or in the browser. Because remember that stuff is not in the cloud. Or at least I don't think so. But that's like this right here is cool that it just goes seamlessly between devices like that. And I hope that Stadia does that, but it's not that big of a deal. Out of existing cloud services, I've spent the most time with xCloud, maybe mostly because it offers a consistent streaming experience and a much broader library than Stadia. From a technical standpoint, Luna appeared to keep pace with xCloud. Going forward, it just needs to do the same with its library. Okay. Luna is built on the back of Amazon Web Services, one of the first few networks broad enough to support high-fidelity cloud gaming. Microsoft owns another, as does Google, but few companies have the resources. Okay, yep. Stadia has consistently disappointed players since launch in November 2019, not because the service doesn't work necessarily, but because it doesn't have the software to keep things interesting, and Google has failed to properly communicate with even the most dedicated players. I'm very curious what this links to. Yeah, there you go. Yes, so there are people on Reddit who don't like something. So look, I am 100% in the camp of Stadia doesn't have enough games. That's not that big of a deal. Those games are coming eventually. I am 100% in the camp that Google is quiet when they shouldn't be. You know, Google is quiet when they shouldn't be. However, they know things that we don't. So maybe they're quiet when they should be. You know? So like I said, you know, there are so many, like I could write an exact article like this, and I could find a Reddit post that would say everybody loves Stadia. And I could link to a Reddit post. So like that part bothers me. Meanwhile, xCloud is tied to Game Pass Ultimate, arguably the best subscription deal in digital gaming today. I agree 100%. Microsoft is building xCloud slowly with prolonged view of beta periods. Okay, so is Google. Just because they actually sold you a controller doesn't mean that it's not being built out so slowly. With a distinct focus on content. Just 3 days ago, Microsoft revealed. My guess is if I click this, it's going to link to another Engadget article. Oh, what a surprise. Yes. That's just them trying to build in more purple links for me to click so that I'll go and check their other stuff. There you go. No, okay, so first off, I don't think for a second that this article was paid to hate on Stadia. I don't think that Engadget accepted money in order to hate on Stadia. Here's what they're doing, okay? Look, they're going to... Okay, first on, hating on Stadia is cool. It's cool. You guys have to admit it's cool, right? Okay, so hating on Stadia is cool. And so, of course, Engadget is going to have a bunch of articles that will hate on Stadia, right? And so then they're going to link to those articles in this article, because that means that people are going through and clicking on more stuff so that they are seeing more ads, so that Engadget is making more money. That's just how the web works. But I think that this is a pretty fair article. And just because they don't agree with you doesn't mean that they were paid. Exactly what Lloyd's saying. Yeah. And the guy, whoever wrote the article, they even said specifically, I really only have most of my cloud streaming experiences on xCloud because it has more games. It does. But here's the thing. And then I'm probably going to wrap up the show. Here's the thing to keep in mind, everybody. This is probably the most important part. For Stadia, for Luna, you don't have to buy a box. So there's really no reason why you can't have all of them. That is, of course, unless Luna doesn't let you buy games. And if you can't buy games on Luna, then I'm a little less interested. I don't want to have to subscribe. I don't mind subscribing, but I can sit down and play a game on my computer, on a Chromebook, whatever, on Stadia, and it cost me any money. So I can use Stadia and I can use Luna, and everything can be copacetic.